Apple co-founder Steve Jobs once said, "Design is a funny word." Some people think that design means how it looks. But of course, if you dig deeper, it's really how it works.
Welcome back to the Voice on Demand podcast by the Middle East Council of Shopping Centers and Retailers. In this topical podcast, Scott explains how the leading retailers and creators of disruptive innovations are leveraging design and design thinking to transform their organizations and their approach to innovation, seeing how huge impact on customer experience and their profit and loss accounts as a result. Scott introduces IBM's enterprise design thinking and explains how listeners with an interest can start getting certified in design thinking for free. Scott has worked in consulting capacity at IBM, Accenture, Deloitte, and also led digital transformation and innovation at Altair Group, one of the GCC's largest luxury lifestyle retail portfolio operators. Scott has a master's in business and economics, but also recently received a first-class honors Bachelor's of Science degree specializing in digital technology, design, and innovation. He's also a certified IBM design thinking practitioner and co-creator. Here is Scott L. Ellis from IBM.
Experience design is a source of competitive advantage. If you think of some of the iconic products, services, and experiences we have offered to us on a daily basis, the Apple iPhone, Tesla's electric vehicles, Airbnb's home rental platform, these are some of the modern game changers where a central belief that design transcends mere aesthetics and is really about how something actually functions is what made them remarkable innovations. User experience has been brought to the forefront, and as an outcome, you have a category winner, or even a whole new category. The organizations behind these offerings design for what is important to people and the way that people actually behave, not the way that organization would wish their customers to behave. They imagine the experiences consumers want to have, some of these unarticulated up to this point, and then they offer them in the most desirable form. Doug Stevens, also known as the Retail Prophet, has said, "Customer experience is the future of how physical retailers will generate revenue. Experiences won't just sell products, experiences will be the products." Now, to deliver such offerings, the world's leading brands, including Apple, Disney, Uber, and Google, have rapidly adopted an approach called design thinking in how they design products, services, and even their own business model, often creating whole new platforms in the process. The push for design thinking has elevated what was a buzz term into a much-used human-centered process, one that is now helping businesses to generate ideas and solutions that they most need in order to disrupt how they meet customer requirements and to thrive as a result. In 1964, Charles Eames wrote in The Information Machine that design is a plan for arranging elements in such a way as to best accomplish a particular purpose. 55 years later, and design is now far more important. It can be the making or the breaking of a company. Uber is an organization that on the surface may run a ride-hailing mobile application, but actually in the process, it's creating new economies. In traditional businesses, if you get the button wrong on your television set or the lamp that you make, people might complain and then get on with their day. However, if they get a button wrong at Uber, entire economies could be disrupted. Organizations like Uber have to think about all the possible positive and negative repercussions of their design and user experience, because these little mistakes have incredible downstream consequences. The company not only touches millions of people through its apps, but it's also a source of income for as many as 2 million drivers, and it has introduced new business models and services all around the world. Designers need to think as much about individual interactions and touchpoints as about broader economic, cultural, and social issues. And design doesn't sit still. It is contextual. It is iterative. Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi says that Uber wants to become the operating system for your everyday life, and they are overhauling the design to navigate the daily complications that users face. This is a retail-focused podcast, so let's bring the conversation back to retail. Nordstrom, the American chain of luxury department stores, have a stellar reputation for customer service. They are applying design thinking to help enhance every aspect of their customer experience. What started as a small team focused on design execution has grown to be a strategic component, looking at solving customer problems and best serving them. Nordstrom have a user experience team responsible for data-driven innovations, like digital style boards that allow their salespeople to create personalized style recommendations and then share them with clients. So whether you think about a digital business like Uber or a more traditional retailer like Nordstrom, organizations all around you are using design thinking to earn their success after recognizing the value of integrating design thinking into organizational culture and their ways of working. At its core, design thinking is essentially a problem-solving approach, crystallized in the field of design, combining a user-centered perspective with rational and analytical research, all with the goal of creating innovative solutions to unmet or unarticulated user problems. It's not the exclusive property of designers. All great innovators in literature, art, music, science, engineering, and business have practiced it. And over the last few decades, there have been a growing appreciation that designers' work processes can help organizations to systematically extract, to teach, to learn, and to apply human-centered techniques in order to solve problems in a creative and innovative way. In our designs, in our businesses, in our countries, and in our everyday lives. Consumer product manufacturers and retailers have recognized that design innovation happens at the intersection of desirability for customers, viability at the business level, and feasibility for technology. Design thinking, this product design approach that has been evolving since the 1950s, integrates all three of these. It is an iterative process in which at one end, you seek to understand the user, challenge assumptions, and redefine problems that might not be instantly apparent with the initial level of understanding. At the other end, it provides an approach to solving problems with proven hands-on methods that consider alternative strategies and solutions. Why is it beneficial to think like a designer? Well, doing this helps look at everyday experiences. It gives a better understanding of potential friction points, and it considers what's desirable from a human point of view, before you then go about considering what is technologically feasible and economically viable. It allows people who aren't trained as designers to use creative tools in order to address a vast range of challenges. What do my customers really want? This is possibly the most important question every retailer must ask, whether they represent a large company or a small convenience store. Think of the first time you visited an Apple store, interacting with a product directly, walking straight out with your purchase after being given what would be considered exceptional customer service in any other store. By elevating product interaction while simplifying the transactional part of the experience and making it a marginal part of the employee role, Apple have ensured as a result that the employee's focus is more content-rich, more engaging, more experience-centric. And as a customer, you benefit from this and gain greater enjoyment in your overall shopping journey. In doing so, Apple have used a designer's sensibility and methods to match customer needs with what is technologically feasible, and they applied business strategy directly linked to customer value, thus creating a whole new market opportunity. But needs and wants evolve and change, and so design thinking is iterative and contextual. Let's spend some time on a key fundamental. That is, that real people are at the heart of design thinking. Design thinking succeeds when it finds ideal solutions based on the real needs of real people. In a Harvard Business Review article on the evolution of design thinking, John Kolko noted, "People need their interactions with technologies and other complex systems to be simple, to be intuitive, and to be pleasurable. When done well, human-centered design enhances the user experience at every touchpoint, and it fuels the creation of products and services that deeply resonate with customers. Design is empathic. It thus implicitly drives a more thoughtful human approach to business. It informs human-centered innovation. It begins with developing an understanding of customers' or users' unmet or unarticulated needs." Gene Liedtke, an American professor and strategist, said, "The most secure source of new ideas that have true competitive advantage, and hence higher margins, are customers' unarticulated needs. Customer intimacy, a deep knowledge of customers and their problems, helps to uncover those needs." If we think back to the Apple Store example, queuing up and paying for products was an established part of everyone's retail customer journey. No one was crying out for it to change. However, through design thinking, Apple tapped into an unarticulated need through their empathetic knowledge of the customer. They looked beyond their own product. They looked into the customer journey, and they looked at how they can improve that. As a result, they've created a new baseline experience expectation for customers everywhere. And so, if your brief is to redesign an office chair, applying design thinking might cause you to challenge the notion and the strategy of why a chair is needed in the first place. Perhaps a stand-up desk is a healthier option. You're then led to explore even harder questions, such as, where is the room that people need to sit in, and why do they need to be there in the first place? By reinstalling humans at the center of design, the likes of culture and context become a focal point once more. This preliminary understanding sees designers solving more worldly problems as a result. Design thinking revolves around a deep interest in developing an understanding of the people for whom we're designing the products or services. It helps us observe and develop empathy with the target user. It helps us in the process of questioning the problem, questioning the assumptions we've made, questioning the implications of our actions. How do we do this in practice? Well, in a nutshell, by reframing the problem in human-centric ways, creating many ideas in brainstorming sessions, and adopting a hands-on approach in prototyping and testing. You utilize ongoing and iterative experimentation, sketching, prototyping, testing, trying out concepts and ideas. Iterating in this way is important because, as many organizations have found to their peril, design before development can lead to dead ends. So how can design thinking be used as a competitive advantage in retail? Well, beyond the Apple example, the retail industry continues to bear witness to new competitors, converging markets, industry shifts, and emerging consumer-driven technologies. These disruptions create a slew of new challenges. How to satisfy increasingly demanding hyper-connected consumers. How to create innovative products that will be enthusiastically embraced. How to deliver personalized and contextual customer experiences across a constantly increasing number of consumer channels and devices. The retailer-consumer conversation is now a multi-participant and public-based dialogue, often initiated by the customer using the channels, devices, protocols, and terms that he or she prefers. These are non-linear problems. They're fluid, they're subjective, they're multidimensional. So applying the traditional linear thinking to creating solutions is no longer going to work. Doing what you've always done before is simply not going to cut it, as many local retailers have found to their cost. In contrast, design thinking allows problem solving that applies the deep empathy for users, the collaboration among multidisciplinary teams, and a framework that considers how to achieve behavioral and emotional goals with results that achieve an emotional reaction. This is powerful, as we know that people are emotional, and they make purchase decisions based on these emotions. On a tangible level, it minimizes risk, it reduces costs, it improves speed, and it energizes employees. It provides leaders with a framework for addressing complex human-centered challenges and making the best possible decisions concerning redefining value, reinventing business models, and organizational and cultural change. Now, there are many variants of design thinking in use today. Most variants embody the same principles which were first described by Nobel Prize laureate Herbert Simon in his book The Sciences of the Artificial in 1969. These principles underline that design thinking shouldn't be controversial or complex. It's simply the idea that everyone on a team should be focused on their users first and foremost. IBM is the organization that I represent, and IBM has built on that idea, adding strategies, tactics, and activities to create a framework that uniquely scales design thinking for the needs of large enterprises across teams of all shapes and sizes, whether they're co-located or widely dispersed. IBM's approach, which is called Enterprise Design Thinking, is particularly relevant to the retailers in the GCC who are part of a wider portfolio of businesses, usually under the umbrella of one corporate entity with a number of business interests across multiple domains and geographies. Given the scale of these organizations, it can be particularly challenging for individuals and teams to zero in on customers, and even when they do so, it's equally challenging to act on the insights gained and to deliver the innovation that the organization needs and wants. Enterprise design thinking puts tools into the hands of these people who may never have thought of themselves as designers and lets them apply these to a vastly greater range of problems. Working within an enterprise, you face complex challenges. You can work across silos. You juggle competing requirements, all while racing to meet rising expectations of your customers. Maybe you think you have a great idea for a new product, or maybe you already created a product and your competitors just released an update that scares you. Either way, you need a proven process for innovating and delivering fast and circumnavigating the challenges that are unique to the size and scale of your enterprise. IBM's enterprise design thinking offers a powerful approach to innovation and brand differentiation. It's focused on creating experiences that delight customers. It takes the best industry-recognized design methods and adds 3 core practices: hills, sponsor users, and playbacks. And it applies knowledge from real development with real users at IBM's worldwide garage locations, which include Dubai. You can generate ideas more quickly, design, evaluate, and test them faster, and accelerate development of code. More importantly, you can deliver value to your customers faster. Let's look at the foundational elements of enterprise design thinking, which are called principles, and there are 3 of them. Firstly, a focus on user outcomes. Who are you designing for, and what do they need? You measure success by how well you fulfill human needs. Your users are more than just the people you make for. They're your partners in design. Secondly, restless reinvention. When's the last time you rethought what you're making? Everything is a prototype. Being essential and staying essential requires a continuous conversation with your users and clients, responding to their changing needs through rapid prototyping and constant iteration. Thirdly, diverse, empowered teams. Do you have the right mix of makers? Diversity is the bedrock of a dynamic team. By empowering people with different skill sets, different backgrounds, and different perspectives to bring their unique points of view to the table, you generate more breakthrough ideas faster. Now we move on to what IBM referred to as the loop. This is a process of rapid iteration that helps you understand the present and envision the future in a continuous cycle of observing and making. First, you observe. To drive meaningful outcomes for your users, you must first gain a deep understanding of the challenges they face. By constantly immersing yourself in the world of your users, you ensure that your solutions always address real-world needs. Then you reflect. different people can interpret the same situation in very different ways. Coming together to reflect on your observations helps you synthesize and analyze findings, building a more nuanced understanding of your users across the team. Then you make. The only way to see an outcome is to make one, even if the idea isn't fully baked yet. Rapid, low-fidelity prototyping allows you to simulate ideas and to test hypotheses quicker and cheaper. The end result is solutions that are robust, effective, and battle-tested. Now, as I have explained, enterprise design thinking starts by bringing together a series of traditional design techniques, such as personas, empathy maps, as-is scenarios, design ideation, to-be scenarios, wireframe sketches, and minimum viable products. To these traditional design approaches, enterprise design thinking adds those three core practices: hills, playbacks, and sponsor users. As I mentioned earlier, to the traditional design approaches, enterprise design thinking adds three core practices: hills, playbacks, and sponsor users. Let's look at hills. Enterprise design thinking created the notion of hills to provide a new business language for alignment around user-centric market outcomes, not feature requests. This new business language is rooted in user needs and desires. Each hill is expressed as an aspirational end state for users that is motivated by market understanding. Hills define the mission and the scope of a release, and they serve to focus the design and development work on desired, measurable outcomes. For each project, define no more than 3 major release hill objectives, plus a technical foundation objective. The second practice is playbacks. As your effort moves forward, you'll want to obtain lots of feedback. You need playbacks. Playbacks align your team, stakeholders, and users around the user value that you plan to deliver, rather than project line items. All design and development work is iterative. To scale in an iterative world, enterprise design thinking formalizes these sessions into iconic playback milestones. These align everyone around a set of high-value scenarios that show the value of your offering. Early playbacks align the team and ensure that it understands how to achieve a hill's specific user objectives. However, in later playbacks, the development team then demonstrates its progress on delivering high-value, end-to-end scenarios. And thirdly, sponsor users. Sponsor users are people who are selected from your real or intended user group. By working with sponsor users, you can better design experiences for real target users rather than imagined needs. If at all possible, you should engage sponsor users when you create your personas, and you should continue to include them throughout the entire design and development process. Because you engage sponsor users on a regular basis throughout the release cycle, your relationship deepens, and their feedback provides direct insight into the specialized needs of their business domains. Collaboration between sponsor users and your team ensures that your product is valuable, effortless, and enjoyable. There are many other components of enterprise design thinking, some of which I've mentioned already, but I've simplified somewhat. I don't really have time on this podcast to go into those in detail, but I'll happily share more detail with anyone who's still listening and interested in finding out more. It is worth noting that enterprise design thinking has received global acknowledgement from designers, developers, and institutions as well. It's been used to great success by organizations as varied as Kraft Heinz, Etihad Airways, ExxonMobil, and Fox Sports. Let's look at culture. Culture is extremely important to the success of embedding design thinking and to becoming a customer-centric organization. There are 4 elements worth discussing here. The first is to understand the user and place them at the center of everyone's focus within the organization, not just the responsibility of some new or separate function. Some examples of this in practice are at organizations like Amazon, where the executive team is required to call in and visit the call centers and listen to customer needs firsthand. That's a great example, where everybody is in charge of understanding what the customer's needs are, what their motivations are, understanding their pain points and their behaviors, and for making them paramount in solving business problems. This is really important. Understanding the customer is not just the job of the designer. The second element is thinking about building clear personas and using empathy maps to bring empathy into the organization, making sure that everyone is thinking about things through the lens of the people that they're designing for and serving. That might mean creating personas that people rally around, or archetypes, or ways of communicating the target audience that speak beyond demographics. It's focusing more on what's in the heart and minds of the people that you're designing for. Then, thinking about that empathy in a way that becomes pervasive in the organization, part of the culture. This needs to be built into the onboarding of new hires and applied to incumbents, making sure that everyone feels that empathetic drive and ability to refer first person to who they're designing for. The third element is to design in real time. Thinking about design, technology, and business all coming together, and then iterating them together. This is why design thinking should be married with an agile project management approach, with teams sitting together, working together, checking in, and keeping each other abreast of any issues that come up. Which leads to the fourth element, which is to act quickly. We have the means now to be able to hypothesize, to design, and to test quickly, both at a broad scale and at a very focused one-on-one scale, whether that's digitally or bringing things to market in prototype fashion. Of course, there are elements that make those things easier to embody. Things like flexible working spaces that have great areas for collaboration, making it easier for the teams to physically come together quickly. Rooms that can be set up so there are hybrid teams sitting together that are cross-functional. And I've personally seen this work very well at Alpha Tame Group, Shaloop Group, and Majid Alpha Tame. Why are we doing this? How do we know that design thinking actually adds to the bottom line? We've all had the experience where you first saw that iPhone, or had a great experience in a department store, or an exciting journey home in a Tesla, and thought, wow, so it's enjoyable. But how much is design actually worth? Well, there are a number of layers to peel back to answer that question. How we react as a consumer ourselves is the proximate layer, where design is about adding value to our lives as people, as individuals. There is a more elevated layer. We can look to design as a much more strategic business lever. We can see around us that design-oriented companies have far outperformed others for the past 10 years. But is this really measurable? Well, yes, it is. IBM commissioned Forrester Consulting to conduct a total economic impact study and examine the potential return on investment that enterprises may realize by engaging IBM's design thinking practice. To better understand the benefits, costs, and risks associated with the investment, Forrester interviewed 4 of IBM's enterprise design thinking clients, and they surveyed an additional 60 executives who employed design thinking at their own organizations, some with and some without IBM. These organizations turned to design thinking to address a myriad of challenges, whether it was defining business strategy, to invest in solving the most promising opportunities, energizing and empowering employees to think creatively without fear of failure or retribution, designing better products to improve customer experience and sales, and so on. Interviewees found that IBM's enterprise design thinking practice successfully partnered with these organizations to address these challenges and to enhance culture, speed, efficiency, customer experience, and profitability. In terms of the summary tangible benefits, the headlines included participants getting offerings 2 times faster to market, reaping a 300% return on investment, and experiencing a 75% increased team efficiency. Okay, so I've talked for a long while and it's time to wrap up. So here's my conclusions. The making of a truly great product, system, or service goes beyond what you can see. It encompasses what goes on beneath the surface, the purpose, the brand positioning, the processes that keep it ticking along, the technology, the security, etc. But most importantly, how it relates to the user. If you're able to understand the needs of your user and you have the organization that's good at doing this on an ongoing basis, you can create engagement and loyalty, and a truly special bond between your organization and its customers. Design thinking is a problem-solving approach specific to designing such offerings and getting to this place. Design thinking puts users first. Instead of starting with an engineering mindset and applying design late in the process, design is actually the catalyst that should be there from the beginning. When compared to traditional technology deployment, design thinking changes project objectives from features and functions to the customer and business outcomes. In nearly every situation, design thinking applies design to people and not objects and technology. It applies it to experiences and not product or packaging aesthetics. It ensures you involve assessing known aspects of a problem and identifying the more ambiguous or peripheral factors that contribute to the conditions of the problem. Now, if you'd like to know more about design thinking, IBM provide formal enterprise design thinking certifications at 5 levels, with the first of these, Design Thinking Practitioner, free to anyone to earn. As a certified enterprise design thinking practitioner, you'll be able to participate in design thinking activities, know who your team's primary user group is, and to share enterprise design thinking with others. So if you're interested, you can visit www.ibm.com/design/thinking to find out more. My name is Scott Ellis, and I thank you for listening.
Incredible podcast by one of IBM's backbones, Scott Ellis. To reach out to Scott, you can send him an email at scott.l.ellis@ibm.com. Stay tuned next week for more exciting episodes.